And I still think if Lukaku's mind is right, he will get you 25, 30 goals a season. Welcome to this week's edition of One-2-One with Simon Jordan. Now don't forget to keep liking and subscribing and of course leaving your questions in the comment section below. But let's get to this week's show. The scrutiny on Ralf Rangnick goes with the territory. You can't be the manager, interim or not, of arguably the biggest club in world football and not expect the scrutiny. You also can't produce a team which is not winning games that you'd expect them to win and not have media interest. You also can't talk about the players and be brave enough to say what players are actually saying or implying or inferring and hoisting them by their own petard in the public domain without an element of blowback. So it goes with the territory. It's one of the unique things about Manchester United that probably supersedes most clubs in the world, with the exception of maybe the Madrids and Barcelonas that have the same sort of media focus. So I think he's got to get a bit more adroit at it. I think he's got to get a slightly better method of communication that looks a little bit more upbeat. I'm in the camp that I think he's going to come through this. I'm in the camp that the Pochettino deal isn't done and that Rangnick will be the one that gets the Man United job because I think he's got the chops to do it. It's a difficult circle to square at this moment in time because people are looking at Manchester United's performances where they're going into games in a certain way, but coming out the other way in terms of getting leads, not being able to hold on to them. But if you look at the statistics, 75 shots in goal in 3 games prior to the Southampton game tells you it's nothing wrong with the setup of the teams. There's something wrong with the profligacy of their forwards. But no, I don't think it's wrong that the biggest, most media-fascinated club of the lot means that the guy that's in situ of running the team and might even be the director of football or consultant or whatever he's going to be next year if he doesn't get the manager's job, gets the scrutiny that he gets. It goes with the territory, get on with it. Was it a mistake buying Romelu Lukaku? On paper, which is very few things are won on paper, no, it didn't look like a mistake. And most conventional wisdom thought Lukaku was the cherry on top of a cake. That may well be the case if the cake was fully formed. It isn't. The ingredients aren't quite there for Chelsea to be able to win a domestic title. Winning the Champions League put Thomas Tuchel in a situation where he was almost now over-promising and potentially going to go into the territory of under-deliver, and you want it the exact opposite way around. He's a victim of his own success. Lukaku and his ridiculous observations have made it a question about was he a waste of money, and the fact he hasn't scored as many goals as we anticipated. When he started, everyone went, aha, there he is, that's what we need. And I still think if Lukaku's mind is right, he will get you 25, 30 goals a season. And I still think that Chelsea's investment, you buy a player that's a centre forward that gets that kind of goals, it costs 100 million quid. So no, I don't think it was the wrong decision. I'm just not entirely sure they've handled the situation the best way they could. And I'm not entirely sure that Romelu Lukaku has handled it. Sean Dyche, for me, grows on me. The more I think of Sean Dyche, in the past I've sort of been, maybe he falls into the Alan Kirbishley camp of he was very good at Charlton and you took him out of Charlton and he was okay at West Ham and he had a fiefdom at Charlton where he was head cook and bottle washer and he knew where everything was. There was a place and space for everything and Alan Kirbishley told you what that was. And Sean Dyche is something like that at Burnley. I don't think it's a case of if Burnley go down this season, I think it is a case of they are going down. I think the bottom 3 in the Premier League are the 3 that are going to go down. I know that Newcastle obviously lost Kieran Trippier for a period of time, but I think their momentum is there now. Now, where does Sean Dyche go? The difficulty is, where does he go? There will always be an availability of a job because people are going to lose their jobs. People are going to make changes, whether it's at the beginning of next season or in the first break as a result of teams not starting well. Coincidentally, he signed a new contract with Burnley. The ownership model for me troubles me more than Sean Dyche's immediate future, although Sean Dyche is the glue, the adhesive that holds Burnley together. Even if they were to get relegated, I would back him to get them back up again. It would just be interesting to see, he's done it once before, why Dyche would want to stay at Burnley. If he's got any ambition, you'd think that he'd want to go somewhere else. He's done a fabulous job. He's built his managerial reputation on being a very sensible manager that's done a great job for Burnley, that's got them to punch above their weight. I would have thought the Everton job was a perfect shoe-in for him, but the Everton job has gone now. So where does he go? What does it look like for Sean Dyche? What does the challenge look like? I wouldn't put it past him to stay there, But I would think if they got relegated this time, it's going to be a difficult one to keep him. And it might just be about managerial compensation that comes into play, but we'll see. You know, Burnley, in my view, are going down, so it's a question that will have to be answered sooner rather than later. Jarrod Bowen is a debate that rages, and it's a debate because he came from the Championship to West Ham and looks on paper like a player that possibly shouldn't be an England player. But if you're judging him on his current form, it's very difficult to argue. If you look at the goal that he scored against Leicester on Sunday, there was never a doubt the moment he got that ball that he was going to hit the back of the net, because he's a player in great confidence. If we're talking about him against what people might consider as, for want of a better expression, perceived football royalty in Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho, right now, categorically, he gets in the side or in the squad, you know, in place, or not so much in place of those two, but, you know, as a result of their performances, he gets in before them. You know, I watched him 2 years ago. I went to watch him play for Hull, and I thought he was okay. And I was sitting there again, I thought, well, he's all right. I don't get the vision that people are suggesting is going to be a really top-class player. It shows how much I know. But obviously he's gone on with West Ham. West Ham are a good side. He's good in it. To me, does he look like an international player? I'm not sure. But the only way you put him into that, find out that, is put him into that framework and see how he performs on the international stage. I think he's well worthy of his place. I think it shouldn't be about whether he takes Rashford's place and Sancho's place. That's about whataboutery. It's about whether he should be in this squad. And I think on current form, if Gareth is to be believed, Gareth Southgate, that he picks players on form, then the next time England get together, he has every right to expect, not demand, of course, but to expect the opportunity to be called into the squad. And then you see if he's an international footballer by putting him in amongst other players and against the opposition and seeing what he does. So I think categorically, yes, Bowen is worthy of a chance in the England squad. Brook obviously is a fight that is getting everybody at it. I'm going to the fight. We're going to go up there, myself and Jim White, and we're going to do a show from there on the Friday and go and see the fight afterwards on the Saturday. I don't think it has the same juice as the Groves-Froch fight, because Froch was the world title holder. Groves was coming up. It was a fabulous first fight, the first one in Manchester. The second fight was not as great because it was a very different dynamic, and I thought George Groves set up for that fight wrong, got all carried away with buses coming into the stadium and whatever else. And Brook are not at the height of their powers. You could argue that Froch might not have been at the height of his powers, and he certainly wasn't in the first fight when George Groves was just outstanding. We're talking about timing win fights. Whilst he didn't win that fight, the timing that he had and how many times he hit Carl Froch was absolutely incredible. Does it have a stadium fight look about Brook? Does it have a rematch clause? Well, yeah, it does have a rematch clause from what I understand. But we've got to see what we've got on our hands. You know, we've got two fighters. One of them hasn't fought for 3 years and previously was in the jungle. The other one hadn't fought for the last 2 years and has been bashed about, had eye sockets popped out and all kinds of trouble. So we'll see what they've got left. If they're 75% of the fighters that once were, then we're going to have a good fight. So that's it for this week's edition of One-to-One. Don't forget to leave me your thoughts on RANGNICK, Lukaku and Bowen. Of course, to like and subscribe. And also, don't forget to leave your questions in the comment section, and I look forward to seeing you next week.